Hey, welcome to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Leticia Ringe, and this is the space to be for high vibe people looking to create a beautiful life and business. Let's do this. Welcome back to the podcast, my beautiful friends. I'm Leticia Ringe, your coach, and as always, it's such a pleasure to be here with you all today. So before we dive into today's episode topic, I wanted to share a little manifestation story with you all. So I'm currently recording this episode from my new home in London, and the way that I arrived into this place is really, really cool. So I needed to find a place for 5 to 6 weeks in London, and I wanted to move into someone's home that's already set up rather than moving into a place that's only partially furnished or even fully furnished, because there probably wouldn't be all the things that I needed. And I also really desired a cat. But I didn't want to look at cat or house sitting websites because in my experience, that process has taken a little longer. I wasn't feeling the call to go down that route. And I felt the call to go down the Airbnb route, but I didn't want to pay Airbnb prices, which are quite high at the moment. They have been for quite a while. And so I was in this predicament of knowing that I should go on Airbnb, and that's where I wanted to go. Also knowing that I wanted a cat and I wanted to have a place that was fully set up already as a home. So I followed that ping and went on to Airbnb. I had a look within the area that I wanted and had a look at some places that had long-term availability. And then I reached out and asked if they'd like to talk outside of the app about a more long-term stay. Immediately, the one person got back to me. This person was looking to go away for 5 weeks because she wanted to do a trip over in Africa. And she had a cat. And not only that, she's also a coach. And on top of the fact that she's a coach, she's also a dating coach. Right at the moment where I'm having a little bit of resistance to, do I tell everyone that I'm going to be focusing on relationships moving forward and that's the content coming their way? Not only do I manifest a home for 5 weeks at a rate that is not at Airbnb rate, so lower, and it's with a coach, and it's with a person who works on relationships specifically. So here I am now in my beautiful home in London. I love this place so much. It's super cozy. And this beautiful cat, her name is Willow, which is also the same name as my sister's cat. She's black and white, also like my sister's cat. This cat is really fluffy though. She's super cute. She looks like Puss in Boots. And she's so friendly, and I'm just having the best time enjoying having a little animal in my life every day who loves to follow me around and get lots of pats, and I just love it so much. So that's my little manifestation story, and I think it's important to share these because when we honor our desires and we follow where we're being called, even when it doesn't make sense, miracles happen. Right? Magic happens. And the reason it's magic or even a miracle is because our mind tells us it couldn't happen in that way. But the truth is we live in a universe of possibility. Anything can happen. And when we live from possibility, that's when we experience experiences like these where our mind has told us that could never happen and it does. And then that's the magic. So I actually think magic happens all the time, and it's not really magic. It's really just what's possible in the universe that we live in. But when we're looking at it through the lens of our mind, it seems like magic. So there you go. Okay, so today we are talking about the conscious relationship cycle. And I'm so excited to talk to you all about this because every time I sit down to prepare an episode for you all about relationships, I am blown away every time because I realize that we've spoken about this same concept in relation to business. And it's really beautiful, as I've mentioned in our last episode, because when we're thinking about a different area of life with the same concept, it can be an easier way for you to actually learn the concept. So for those of you who are thinking still, conscious relationships, I don't know if I'm really into this, I want you to know that it's just as much about conscious business as it is about conscious relationships. So just like the entrepreneurial cycle that we've spoken about in the past, in the conscious relationship cycle, it's really important for you to be aware of the different phases and for you to be able to locate yourself in the cycle based on where you are right now, and then also identify where it is you want to be. The reason we want to do this is because the sooner you locate where you are right now, the sooner you're able to meet yourself where you're at, bring consciousness to where you're at, and love and awareness, which is what we described in the last episode. That's what a conscious relationship really is. It's about bringing love and awareness to the relationship. And the reason you want to do that is because the sooner you bring awareness to where you are and love for where you are, the sooner you're able to move forward, okay? And this is the case in any area of life that you want to transform. The first step in transformation is awareness. I'm actually going to dedicate an entire episode to the process of transformation in a future episode. And the reason for that is I think it's really important for you all to realize the importance of awareness, which is step one. If you meet yourself where you're at right now and accept yourself with where you're at, that allows space to receive clarity. And then with clarity, you then have the momentum to help you move forward and then therefore be on that transformation process. So identifying yourself in the cycle is super important. Identifying where you want to be is important because then you're able to move with intention towards where you want to be. And you're able to identify what the issues are. When we've spoken about the entrepreneurial cycle in the past, we've spoken about identifying where you are, as in, do I need to validate a signature offer for my business? Or am I growing my signature offer? Or am I expanding my suite of offers and scaling my business? If you know where you're at and what the next step is in front of you, then you know what problem you need to solve. And this is what we're doing as coaches. We're always asking our clients, where are you right now in relation to what you want? And where do you want to be in relation to what you want and what you've hired me to help you with? And the reason we want to know that is because then we, as the coach, can start to identify what is standing in our client's way, what the problems actually are. Your client thinks the problem is different to the one it actually is. It's always the way, because if it were the problem that they think it is, they would have solved it. Your client's really smart. They would have solved it. Their mind is looking for ways to solve a problem, but what they don't realize is that the problem they're trying to solve is not actually the problem it is. That is where we come in as coaches, with our specialism within the field that we're helping them with, and also with our very valuable coaching eyes and ears, which are looking for the patterns that are standing in their way. So, as we speak about the conscious relationship cycle, we're doing the same thing. We're identifying what the phases of the cycle are so that you can locate where you are right now in the cycle, and you can identify and be clear on where you actually want to be. That will then help you to identify what the problem actually is so that you can start solving it. Before we go into the cycle, there's a really important question, though, that one must ask themselves. And that is, do I even want to be in the conscious relationship cycle? Now, remembering you can apply conscious relationship principles and practices to any relationship in your life. It does not need to be romantic. I recommend that if you're a coach, a healer, or someone interested in personal development, which I would assume is every single one of you listening to this episode right now, then I highly recommend you apply consciousness to your relationships, just like you apply consciousness to your life and also to your business. That's how we create what we want in life. It's how we live from more love and abundance, which is what everybody is wanting. And it's how we end up having a much better experience of life. So I would argue that you want to understand what the conscious relationship cycle is generally to apply to relationships in your life. However, know that the way that I'm going to be talking about it today is in the context of romantic relationships. You can, however, apply it to any relationship. So if you're thinking about romantic relationships specifically, the question you need to ask before we even talk about the cycle is, do I even want a romantic relationship? And you have every right to say that you do not want that relationship, okay? You just need to really understand what your reasons are and know that it's coming from a place of love for yourself rather than fear. And you can be intentionally single when you ask yourself that question from that perspective. Is it coming from love? If you decide, hey, I don't actually want to have a romantic relationship, I want to be single, then that's an amazing decision, okay? However, if you're answering that question and it's coming from fear and you're saying, I don't want a romantic relationship because I don't feel like I'm ready for one, I don't feel like I'm good enough, I've got trauma on the subject, then being intentionally single may not actually be intention, right? It might be a fear-based decision that you're making. Either way, it doesn't matter, but you need to ask yourself, do I actually want to be in the cycle before you start locating yourself in the cycle and then moving towards a relationship? And I also want you to know that this applies for business as well. Do I really want to be an entrepreneur? Do I really want to have a business? If the answer is no, that's okay. You don't have to have a business. And you might actually be a coach and decide that you don't want to have a business. That is okay. Coaches are showing up in lots of different employment fields, and you can apply what you do as a coach to probably any job in the world, and it would be incredibly useful. So just ask yourself first, do I want to be in a romantic relationship? Okay, if you do, then you want to locate yourself in the conscious relationship cycle, and you also want to identify where you want to be. Okay, so here are the 6 phases of the conscious relationship cycle. Phase number 1 is you're not in a relationship. Okay, so you're single. You might be going through a breakup right now. You might have been through a breakup, or you might simply just be single. Maybe it's the first relationship of a romantic nature or otherwise that you're entering into. So it's important for you to meet yourself where you're at in this phase of the cycle, which means coming from a place of awareness. I recognize that I'm not in a relationship right now, and perhaps recognizing that you want to be either in a relationship or at a different phase of the relationship cycle. That's important for you to be aware of. It's also important for you to be aware of so that you can give yourself so much love for where you are. So loving on the phase itself. Yeah, I'm single right now. Or yeah, I've just been through a breakup and this is where I'm at right now. And I'm meant to feel the way I'm feeling right now. I'm meant to be here. I'm not meant to be in a relationship with someone else right now because I'm here. I'm single or I'm going through this breakup. The reason this is important is because the more you love on yourself and where you are, the more it will open up space to solve what's standing in your way between where you are and where you want to be. For instance, if you're not in a relationship right now for any reason and you desire being in a relationship or being at a different point of the relationship cycle, then you need to be aware that part of you is either unconsciously or consciously committed to not being in a relationship or committed to not being at the other stage of the relationship cycle that you're desiring. This might sound like a hard pill to swallow because you might actually be telling yourself and everybody around you that I really want to be in a relationship or I want to be dating, but then you're not. Okay, so you think that something outside of you is stopping you from moving forward, but really all of the responsibility lies on you, because that is where all of your power is. And so what it means is there is something inside of you that is not committed to a relationship. And the sooner we accept that and identify what that is, the sooner you will allow yourself to move forward. And this is what we're doing in every area of coaching, no matter what. We are looking at our clients and accepting them where they are and recognizing that, listen, part of the reason they're where they are right now is because they are unconsciously or consciously committed to being where they are, and for a good reason. Let's find out what it is so that we can help them move forward. Okay, phase number 2 is you are actively dating. You are dating, right? This is a different phase from being single and not dating. You are still single, but you're also making positive progress towards being in a relationship with someone, because you're out and about meeting people, specifically dating them, right? So specifically moving toward a relationship. Now, you can be in the dating phase of the relationship cycle and apply consciousness to this phase. You could be applying all of the conscious relationship principles and practices we spoke about last week. And I should also add that you could be applying those same principles in the first phase as well. When you're single, you can start consciously communicating with yourself, being radically honest with yourself, etc., etc. It's a really great time to start learning about them and practicing them. So when you're in the dating phase, and I'd love to call this the conscious dating phase, you can also be applying all of the conscious relationship principles and practices. And at this phase of the relationship, you might actually want to be in a relationship, but you're in the dating phase of a relationship. The sooner you meet yourself with where you're at and accept that right now I'm not in a relationship, I am dating, the sooner you will stop any resistance from being in that phase, right? Because the resistance of admitting that this is where I'm at might be actually what's stopping you from moving to the next phase. And you want to give yourself so much love for being in this phase. You want to celebrate this phase. You know, if you are in a relationship, you're not going to be dating anymore, right? It's like when we're at the start of our business and we're figuring out, like, who do we want to serve? What's the offer going to be? We're figuring out how to build a business within our area, and it's all new and it all feels really overwhelming and we feel frightened and scared, and you know, there's lots of different emotions that are coming up, maybe lots of resistance. But when you stop to realize how sacred and special this moment is, the fact that you might not ever be in this moment again. Well, you definitely won't be in this exact moment again, but you might never be at the starting phase of a business again. And for sure, you'll never be at the starting phase of a business again in this way. It's the same with relationships. You might marry someone and be with them forever, or get in a relationship with someone and be with them for the rest of your life. You don't know. So this moment is sacred. And part of you is consciously or unconsciously committed to being in the dating phase of the relationship cycle. And as your coach, we would be working on finding out why, so that you can move into the next phase of the relationship cycle, or whatever phase it is that you want to be in. Okay, phase number 3 is entering into a new relationship. I love to use this as its own separate phase within the relationship cycle, because being in the start of a relationship is just like being at the start of your business journey. There are special moments, and you want to move into this phase intentionally. You want to be with this phase intentionally and appreciate that it has its own challenges, right? You're learning how to be with each other for the first time. You're learning about what triggers each other. You're learning about how it feels to simply share your life with someone else. For instance, a challenge that I usually experience at the start of a relationship is finding the time for the relationship, fitting someone into my life while still having all the other things that I do with my life, and then readjusting so that I can reprioritize. And so learning how to do that is new. And that's something that we experience in businesses as well, learning how to fit our business into our life and reprioritize our life so that we can prioritize the business is a challenge that we face when entering into a new business, just like when we're entering into a new relationship. So again, you want to bring consciousness to where you are. You want to bring awareness and accept where you are. You want to bring love to where you are. And this allows you to recognize what the problems are that you might be facing at this stage, and then therefore start solving them. So the fact that it feels really new could be a feeling that you stretch out for a long time. For some people, this phase might last a few months, or maybe even a month. For other people, it might last a year or perhaps years. And maybe you want to feel you're in a new relationship, but you actually want to feel like you're in a more established relationship, right? You want to feel more comfortable in that relationship, like maybe it's a long-term relationship. And so what's standing in the way of where you are and where you want to be is, first of all, accepting that where I am right now is in what I am looking at as a new relationship. And you want to ask yourself, well, why am I committed to being here, right? Why am I committed to this feeling of newness? Why am I not letting myself sink in to a feeling of a long-term relationship or a more established relationship? And for some of you, it's just time. You've literally just entered into a new relationship like I have, right? But how long am I going to be calling it a new relationship for? Yeah. It's the same with business. So many of us business owners call us, oh, I'm just new. I'm a new coach. I'm a new healer. And when does it become that you're not new anymore? You know, this is actually a block for a lot of coaches because they're looking at themselves as new. So they're not actually showing up as a coach with expertise and experience and skills to share. They're still downplaying themselves. They're selling themselves perhaps even as, hey, I'm a new coach. You know, so like I'm not as good as another coach. And I'm not saying that you don't get better with practice and time. That's not what I'm saying. Time is a factor, but where's that line going to be for you? It's important to think about, right? So that you know where you are and why you're not where you want to be. So then the next phase of the relationship cycle is you're in an established relationship, and therefore the desire that you might have here is to improve that relationship in some way, right? So it's important to recognize when you're in an established relationship that that's where you are, because it has its own set of challenges. For instance, within long-term relationships, a common challenge is figuring out how to bring that spark back, right? And it could be within one of the different areas of your life or your body, or it could be just generally, I want to feel like I've got new goals in the relationship, or that we're growing and expanding. And there's a certain level of comfort now in the relationship that wasn't there when it was a new relationship. Maybe I'm missing the roller coaster of emotions that I had when I was dating or when I was in the start of this relationship. And so recognizing that you're in this phase and that these are a unique set of challenges to this phase is beautiful, right? I'm meant to be experiencing these challenges. It's like when we have growing pains in business. Yeah, you're meant to have growing pains. Maybe something was working for you before and now it's not, or maybe you don't have capacity to scale your business in the way that you want because you need more systems in place, more team on board. And that's a great thing that you're experiencing that problem, right? Because it's growing pains. It's showing you that you are growing. So see how identifying and locating yourself within the cycle is so beautiful. It gives you all the power for being there. It's showing you what the next step is in the process. Now, the next phase of the relationship cycle is deciding whether you want to stay in a relationship or end a relationship. Now, not everybody's going to come to this because perhaps you just never have that question come to mind. Both parties know they want to be in the relationship, but honestly, we are on some level choosing to be in and stay in a relationship every single day that we choose to stay in it. It's just like in business. Every day that you keep showing up for your business, you're choosing to stay in it in some way. Now, what I'm really talking about, though, when I talk about this phase, is when you seriously sit down and question, is this actually a relationship I want to continue being in? Is this actually a business that I want to continue being in or not? And we have those bigger, harder conversations with ourselves so that we can, if we decide to stay in the relationship, we can recommit, maybe set some new intentions and move forward with greater certainty and commitment in the relationship itself, just like with our business. So if you're in the phase of deciding whether to end a relationship, you might be fighting that you're even here. You might think and tell yourself that it's really bad, that you're at this phase, that you shouldn't be in it, that it's a problem that you're even in it. And I would argue that just by adding consciousness that I'm in this phase, and I should be answering this question because this is the phase I'm in, is going to help you to actually find your answer and hear your answer from yourself. So deciding whether to end a relationship or whether to stay in a relationship is a phase of the relationship cycle. And the next and final phase of the relationship cycle is, which may or may not come to an end for you, is ending a relationship. And I would say most of us are pretty bad at ending relationships. And most of us tell the story that we shouldn't be ending a relationship, that it's a bad thing or maybe it's a failure. And just think about this in a business context. If you're in the previous phase and you've been thinking about ending a business or maybe ending something within your business, like with me when I decided to end my signature program that I've been running for years, the Holistic Business Mistress Mind, the more that I fought that I was in that phase, the harder it was to make a decision, right? But then once I made the decision and then I entered, okay, I'm ending that program, I was able to celebrate that phase, right? That this is a beautiful thing that we're ending this program. It's creating space for something new. And so I want to celebrate this phase. I'm not going to be here again in this ending phase. I want to appreciate what I've created, what we've created over the years. I want to bring consciousness to this phase and not fight it, but actually love it, celebrate it, meet it, see the opportunity that it creates. If you're at the end of a relationship, that means that there is an opportunity for you to be with yourself, right? To experience to a new level of being and living and experiencing the world alone. And there's also the possibility of a new relationship, a new start, a new established relationship. You know, there's these phases ahead of you, and can we look at them with excitement? And the quickest way to do that is to really love on and become aware that you're in the phase that you're in for a reason, and there are unique problems to solve as a result of the phase you're in, and those problems are not a problem. They're meant to be there. It's a good thing. So this is the relationship cycle. I'll just repeat it again so that you can listen in. The first phase is that you're not in a relationship. The second phase is that you're consciously dating, so you're actively making progress towards being in a relationship. The third phase is you're in a new relationship. The fourth phase is that you're in an established relationship. The fifth phase is you're deciding whether to stay in or end a current relationship. And the sixth phase is you're ending a relationship. So as you can see, this is just the cycle of creation, right? Beginning to end, the creative cycle that we're in constantly in any relationship we're in any project that we're in any area of life that we're in. And the sooner we can locate ourselves within the cycle, the sooner we're able to identify what it is we need to solve so that we can get to where it is we want to go as quickly as possible. You'll also notice that there's no skipping steps here, right? You can't, if you want to end a relationship, you've got to go through the process of deciding whether to end a relationship. Maybe you don't ever get to the phase where you feel like you're in an established relationship. I will say that. Maybe you jump from one relationship straight into another. Sure, there are exceptions always to the rule, but for the most part, you're going to be navigating each of these phases, and no matter what phase you're at, you simply want to be with it fully. Don't fight it. Allow yourself to be there. That is going to help you to get where you want to go sooner, and also enjoy the fruits of where you are, because there's not a problem. No matter where you're at in that cycle, there's not a problem with being there at all. And some part of you is consciously or unconsciously committed to being where you are right now, and that's why you're there. And we want to figure out what that is and whether you want to live your life by that story so that we can help you unpick if that's something that you don't want to live your life by and then therefore move forward. Or the worst case is you're going to decide, actually, I really like my reason. And actually what I thought I wanted, I don't actually want. And so it's going to give you full permission in consciousness to stay where you are. Can you see, everyone, why it's so important to apply consciousness to your life no matter what area we're looking at? It gives you all the power and all of the joy, all of the goodness. So there we go, the relationship cycle, the conscious relationship cycle. And I ask you to take a moment to identify where you're at and identify where it is you want to be. And then think about, how am I committed? In what ways am I committed to being where I am right now? And what are the problems that I'm meant to have that I can now get to solving? And if you'd like support on solving that problem, I have my one-to-one coaching program available. We still have places available just for you. So take advantage if you'd love to work with me on your relationship or on your business or on any other area of your life, because I am now coaching one-to-one amazing people within the coaching space holding industry or those who are actively working on their personal development. And I'm supporting you in life, business, and relationships. And you can find all of the details over at leticiaringe.com/coaching. All right, my beautiful friends, I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to go back to little Willow, give her a little pat. I'll see you all in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Leticia Ringe, and I appreciate you so much. If you would like support one-to-one as you up-level your life, business, or relationships in a conscious, intentional, and love-focused way, then head to leticiaringe.com/coaching. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.